Hey everyone, I've been using the new Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra for the last few days. This is a massive Pro tablet. Now, many of you know I'm a big iPad Pro fan and user, but I have used many of Samsung's tablets over the last few years, trying out some of the affordable ones, some of the more expensive ones, just seeing how they all compare to the iPad, which has kind of been the king of the tablet landscape for the last few years. So I feel like I have a pretty good view of Android and iOS tablets, but going into this tablet initially when I first saw it, I was a bit skeptical. Why should a tablet this big exist, and does it even need to exist? But honestly, it didn't take me long to see the power and potential of this tablet, and I can totally see it as an option for those looking for an iPad alternative and for a pro-level tablet experience. Now first up, this of course is a massive tablet. I'm struggling to even hold it for you on video. It has a 14.6-inch display that's 120 Hz, it's OLED, and it's beautiful, fast, and fluid, and really is a true joy to use for really anything. Like, scrolling through a web page is smooth and fluid, and all text is very crisp. Watching a video, playing a game, drawing, it's a wonderful display that is bright and simply incredible to use. But it also means this is the biggest tablet I've ever used, and yes, it is a really big tablet, but it doesn't feel like a big tablet. Perhaps because it's such a thin tablet and it doesn't really weigh too much either. When I'm reading, scrolling through TikTok or Twitter or watching a video, I can actually use it with just one hand. It's completely usable, which is surprising. And I'm typically an 11-inch iPad user. I prefer smaller tablets, but with this one, for some reason, I really just like using this massive screen. And next to an 11-inch iPad Pro, you can really see the huge size difference between these two tablets. The sheer size of it does make bringing it around with you a bit more interesting, like you need a bigger bag or a backpack or something, because most tablet sleeves are not going to fit this massive device. And despite being so big and thin, it actually does feel very durable and solid, like it's not going to bend or dent or anything. This tablet feels incredibly strong. That being said though, I still think you should invest in some sort of cover for this tablet. Whether it's the book cover that I've been using the last few days, it's pretty decent, it snaps on with magnets, covers up the screen, there's 2 angles of adjustment, or the keyboard and trackpad cover that Samsung sells as well, which I haven't tried out, but using some of the past versions of this keyboard cover for previous Samsung tablets, I'm sure it's okay. Nothing special, but they're always just decent enough. You're going to want to protect the front glass of this tablet, and you're also going to want to be able to prop this thing up for watching videos, replying to emails, scrolling through social apps. It's good to have some sort of kickstand here because there is no built-in kickstand for this tablet like a Surface Pro device. Some other key details: this tablet has 4 speakers all around the perimeter, which do sound really good and get loud. There's an SD card slot up top, a USB-C port on the side, an in-display fingerprint scanner which has been pretty fast and somewhat decent, and of course, the notch. When I first saw this notch, I was just like, why? Why is it there? Because it looks like the 2 cameras that are actually in the notch could easily fit in the side bezel. But hey, I'm not an engineer. I don't know what Samsung can and cannot do. But really people, it's not a big deal. I said the exact same thing in my 2021 MacBook Pro video. Basically, it's not a deal breaker. Now I did mention the notch actually has 2 cameras inside of it. There's a regular wide camera and an ultra wide camera as well. And the actual video quality coming from these cameras is really quite good. They shoot 4K video, you're hearing the audio quality as well right now, so for those video calls on Zoom or whatever, you're going to be happy with the video quality here. And this is the ultra wide camera, and it's super wide, and it does look pretty good as well. There's also this brand new auto framing feature that keeps you centered in the frame, kind of like Apple's center stage feature. And I mean, it does work pretty good. It does work pretty good, and it works with the ultra wide as well. As you can kind of see, I'm moving around, it's keeping me in frame. Pretty cool. There's also a rear and ultra wide camera set on the back, and honestly, I'm not even going to touch those 2 cameras. They're kind of useless to me on a tablet that's this big, but for document scanning, they're decent. Okay. The S Pen. It does actually come included in the box, and it really is a great stylus for this tablet. It's a nice size, it's natural to use, and it can also be stored on the top of the tablet with magnets on the back or inside this cover case. And using it for writing notes in apps like Samsung Notes or Note Shelf, it is an amazing handwriting experience. Between the 120 Hz and the optimizations, there's virtually no latency. It feels like writing on paper, but smoother. Having a screen that's this big, about the size of a legal piece of paper, is a glorious thing. It really is a massive creative canvas, and writing or drawing with the S Pen is great. And that leads into actually using this display, and pretty much this whole display is utilized perfectly with the software. So there is of course split screen multitasking, where you can have two windows open where you can drag how big each of the windows are. You can also drop in a third window to have 3 apps in this split screen view. Then you can also drop in these floating windows in this tablet mode as well to have a whole bunch of stuff going on. Then with the tap of the DeX button, it activates this desktop style user interface where you can have floating windows everywhere. DeX mode is an incredible feature for Samsung tablets. It's great to have a much more simplified tablet mode for basic things like scrolling on Twitter or watching videos or just using the tablet for basic tasks. And then having a more desktop oriented experience for more complicated work where you have a whole bunch of windows open. It is great to have both of these options. You get the best of both worlds, and whether you're using it in tablet mode or DeX mode, the software actually looks and feels great as well. Samsung has put in some serious work to make their UI actually look pleasant after years of just less than ideal software. Now you might be thinking, 𝗧𝗛𝗧𝗧𝗦, this is an Android tablet. What's the app situation like? And I have to say, the situation has never been better. It's really the best it's ever been. And we're still missing a few things here and there, like a great graphic design or intensive photo editing app like the Affinity Suite on iPadOS, and we're still missing the wonderful Procreate, which is my favorite iPad app of all time. But despite that, there are still some really good pro drawing options available on Android, Clip Studio being kind of the main one. But for pretty much everything else, there are Android apps available for most of your creative pursuits. Or they're coming soon. To my surprise, LumaFusion, the pro iPad video editing app, is actually coming to this tablet very soon apparently. And that's huge, because it seems like Samsung is actively trying to make their tablet experience better by bringing over some of the pro iPad apps. Fingers crossed for Procreate. There's also Microsoft Office in this tablet, so you have things like Excel and Word and PowerPoint. There's all the note-taking and drawing apps I mentioned. There's all the video streaming apps you could ever want, and you're going to want to watch videos on this display. And the gaming situation is actually incredible on Android. With the power to stream games with Google Stadia or Xbox Game Pass, especially on this big screen once again, it is a true joy. Now doing everything I just mentioned, multitasking with this tablet, just using it on a daily basis, performance has been great. I really have nothing bad to report, but I also know I have to test this tablet out even more. I have to try some more pro apps like LumaFusion when it drops. But so far, using this tablet as I normally would, there's no lag. Everything's fast, it's a true beast with that Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 processor, and 8, 12, or even 16 gigabytes of RAM depending on which storage option you choose, from 128 to 512 gigabytes of storage. And personally, I have the 8 gigabytes of RAM model, and so far, no issues with multitasking or just generally using the tablet. It's fast. And I still do have to test out the battery life a bit more as well before I come to any major conclusions, but so far it has been pretty great. It's gotten me through my full days of work and just casual usage, and I usually charge it up at night or the next day if I'm just chilling at home. Okay, so the big question is the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra actually worth it? And how does it compare to the iPad Pro? Well, I'm gonna answer both those questions. So I think it's important to know the pricing of this tablet. It starts at $1,100 USD or $1,400 Canadian. That's including the S Pen. That is of course expensive, but that's not a crazy price for a tablet of this size, of this quality, and that has this many features. But comparing the price of the 12.9-inch iPad to this one, it is basically the exact same price, excluding the Apple Pencil. So it's not about pricing anymore, it's pretty much exactly the same. It's about the gaps between these two devices. If you're deciding between an iPad or the Tab S8 Ultra, ask yourself these questions. What do you plan to do on your tablet? Are you already locked into the Apple ecosystem, or are you willing to leave? Do you want a tablet that's even this big? And if you're switching from iPad, are there any apps or features that you can't live without that are only available on Apple devices? And in my case, if it wasn't for Procreate or Affinity Photo, I'd have no problem using this as my main tablet. It's really quite good. And the gaps that are present in previous years with Samsung tablets or other Android tablets are really not there anymore. It also has 4 years of big software updates and 5 years of security updates. So if you drop that cash for this expensive tablet, after a few years you're still going to be getting support, you're not going to be left out, and that's a good thing to see. Either way, The fact is, this is the best tablet that Samsung has ever made. It might even be the best Android tablet ever made. It's fun to use, it justifies its purpose and existence, and honestly, it's not for everyone. But for me personally, I thought I'd hate this thing, but now I just can't put it down. It's so much fun to use. This thing is amazing. I'm curious to hear what you think of the Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra in the comments down below. Do you like the idea of a huge tablet like this? Would you actually use it? How do you think it compares to the iPad Pro? Let me know. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe, and thank you for watching.